Have you ever wondered how the notorious Mexican cartels came to be? Let's journey back to the 1980s, to the tumultuous era that birthed these infamous organizations. It all started with a seed of opportunity, a chance for profit in the midst of chaos. The Mexican cartels initially emerged as middlemen for their more powerful Colombian counterparts. These Colombian cartels, at the height of their power, were dominating the global narcotics trade. The Mexican groups, however, saw an opportunity to carve out a niche for themselves, facilitating the transportation of drugs from South America to the insatiable markets of North America. Over time, these middlemen began to amass power and influence, slowly but surely extending their reach into every corner of the drug trade. They became proficient in the art of smuggling, establishing intricate networks that spanned not only Mexico, but also the United States. Then came the 1990s, a decade marked by the downfall of the Colombian cartels. As the Colombian giants fell, they left behind a power vacuum in the world of organized crime. And as nature abhors a vacuum, it was quickly filled. The Mexican cartels, once the underlings in this illicit underworld, stepped up to take the reins. They seized control of the drug routes, the production, the distribution. They diversified their operations, delving into other criminal activities such as human trafficking, kidnapping, and murder. They grew in size and scope, their influence permeating not only the criminal underworld but also the everyday lives of ordinary people. The Mexican cartels, once mere middlemen, were now lords of the underworld, ruling with an iron fist over a vast criminal empire. And as they grew, so did their ruthlessness, their violence, their disregard for human life. They became synonymous with fear, with terror, with the darkest aspects of human nature. And so, from the ashes of one criminal empire, another was born. From middlemen to lords of the underworld, the Mexican cartels were born. What does it mean to live in the shadows of the cartels? Imagine waking up each day knowing that the very safety of your life and the lives of your loved ones is under constant threat. That's the grim reality for many living under the reign of the cartels. The cartels' rule is marked by a chilling reign of terror. Their influence is so pervasive it's woven into the fabric of everyday life. Local communities live in fear, not knowing when or where the next act of violence will occur. Kidnappings are a stark and terrifying part of this reign of terror. They happen in broad daylight, in crowded places, and even in the sanctity of one's home. Parents live in dread of their children not returning from school, and businesses operate under the constant threat of their employees being snatched away. And then there are the murders. Brutal, senseless killings that serve to maintain the cartel's stronghold and send a clear message to anyone who dares to oppose them. The cartel's power is so immense, they often operate with impunity, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Public mass shootings are another horrifying facet of the cartel's reign. These are not random acts of violence, but calculated moves designed to spread fear and demonstrate power. Marketplaces, parks, and even churches have become settings for these chilling displays of dominance. The cartels wield power and influence that extends far beyond their immediate territories. They dictate the rhythm of life, turning ordinary situations into potential dangers. A trip to the local market, a drive to work, or a stroll in the park can turn deadly in an instant. In the grip of the cartels, an ordinary day can turn deadly in an instant. This is the stark reality of living under the reign of terror imposed by the cartels. It's a world where safety is a luxury and fear is a constant companion. The reign of the cartels is a grim testament to the dark side of human nature and the devastating impact of unchecked power. How does one wage war against the invisible? In the heart of Mexico, an unusual war is fought every day. This war isn't against a foreign invader or a visible enemy, but a shadowy, amorphous entity, the cartels. The Mexican government, in its bid to restore peace and order, has been locked in this struggle against the cartels for decades. A war fought not on well-defined front lines, but in the streets, the jungles, and the desert expanses. The government's strategy against the cartels has been multifaceted, encompassing everything from law enforcement operations to social programs aimed at tackling the root causes of the drug trade. Anti-cartel operations are a crucial part of this strategy, with the military and police forces often leading the charge. These operations are high-stakes, high-risk endeavors, where every decision can mean the difference between life and death, between victory and defeat. But the challenges are immense. The cartels are not a single, unified force, but a complex web of rival factions, each with its own territories, operations, and tactics. They are deeply rooted in the communities they inhabit, often providing services and employment that the government cannot or will not provide. This makes the task of dismantling them all the more difficult. And then there's the corruption. In many cases, the very people tasked with fighting the cartels are on their payroll, making the war against the cartels as much a battle against corruption within the government's own ranks as it is against the cartels themselves. The war with the cartels is a war of attrition, a war of endurance. It's a war that demands not just strength and courage, but also patience, resilience, and a deep-seated commitment to justice. It's a war that, despite its many setbacks and challenges, the government cannot afford to lose. In this war, the battlefield is everywhere, and the enemy is unseen. How do the cartels fuel their operations? It's an intricate web of crime and addiction that stretches far beyond Mexico's borders. It's the relentless trade of illegal drugs. Drug trafficking is the lifeblood of the cartels, a multi-billion-dollar industry that funnels money into their coffers, allowing them to maintain their reign of terror. It's a business that thrives on societal ills, exploiting addiction and misery for profit. The cartels are not just gangs, they're multinational corporations dealing in death and destruction. The drugs they peddle are diverse, ranging from marijuana and methamphetamines to cocaine and heroin. These substances are produced in hidden labs, in the heart of the jungle, or in urban homes, converted into makeshift factories. From there, they are transported by land, sea, and air, following a vast network of routes that weave their way through Central America, reaching as far north as the United States. This isn't a small-time operation. The cartels have the resources and the manpower to run a global logistics operation with the ability to move tons of narcotics across borders undetected. They employ an army of workers, from farmers and chemists to traffickers and enforcers, all working together to keep this illicit machine running smoothly. But the trade doesn't stop at the border. Once the drugs reach their destination, they're distributed to local gangs and street dealers who then sell them to the end users. This is where the real damage is done, as communities are torn apart by addiction and violence. The trade is a vicious cycle, one that feeds on itself. The profits from drug sales are used to fund further production and trafficking, which in turn generates more money. This is how the cartels stay in power, how they continue to sow fear and chaos. The drug trade is not just a Mexican problem or an American problem, it's a global issue, one that affects us all. And until we can break the cycle, the cartels will continue to thrive. The lifeblood of the cartels, drug trafficking, is a global network of crime and addiction. What lies beyond the border? A question that carries a weight of dread and intrigue. As we delve into the heart of the matter, we uncover the dangers that loom over the Mexico-US border, a region that has become a hotbed of illicit activities orchestrated by the Mexican cartels. The cartels, as we've come to understand, are not just criminal organizations, they are formidable entities with far-reaching influence. Their operations at the border in particular are a grim testament to their audacity and ruthlessness. Two of their most notorious ventures are human trafficking and drug smuggling. Human trafficking, a crime against humanity, is a thriving industry for the cartels. People desperate to cross the border fall prey to these cartels, who, in exchange for a dangerous passage, exploit them in unimaginable ways. It's a harsh reality that the promise of a better life often leads to a life of servitude and despair. Moving on to drug smuggling, it is another lucrative venture for these cartels. They have turned the border into a narcotics supermarket, smuggling vast quantities of drugs into the US. Cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and more recently the deadly fentanyl, make their way across the border, leaving a trail of addiction, violence, and shattered lives. The cartels have mastered the art of smuggling, using tunnels, vehicles, and even people to transport their deadly cargo. The activities of the cartels at the border pose a significant threat to the security and well-being of both Mexico and the US. They fuel the cycle of violence, contribute to the destabilization of communities, and perpetuate a culture of fear and impunity. The border, a line that should symbolize unity and cooperation, has instead become a battleground. Despite the efforts of both governments, the cartels continue to thrive, exploiting the vulnerabilities of the border and the desperation of those seeking a better life. The situation begs for more than just heightened security measures. It calls for a comprehensive, humane approach that addresses the root causes of these issues. The border, a line of division and a gateway of terror. a harsh truth we must confront as we continue to delve into the dark world of the Mexican cartels. Is anyone safe in the land of the cartels? This question echoes in the minds of many as we delve into the safety situation in Mexico, a country known for its vibrant culture, but also its notorious cartels. Mexico, a land of contrasts, where breathtaking landscapes coexist with areas heavily influenced by cartel activity. Cities like Tijuana, Ciudad Juarez, and Acapulco have made headlines due to high crime rates, largely attributed to these criminal organizations. Yet, it's essential to remember that Mexico is a vast country, with regions that remain untouched by this wave of crime. But what does this mean for the average citizen? In areas with high cartel presence, the fear of being caught in the crossfire or worse, being targeted, is a grim reality. Civilians find themselves adapting to a lifestyle of caution and vigilance. It's a world where everyday activities like going to the market or sending your children to school carry an undercurrent of apprehension. However, it's not all doom and gloom. The Mexican government, in collaboration with international allies, is taking significant strides towards improving safety. Efforts towards police reform, strengthening of judicial systems, and social development programs aim to reclaim peace and security for the Mexican people. Then there are the countless local communities, a testament to the resilience of the Mexican spirit, standing up against the cartels, refusing to let fear dictate their lives. They are the unsung heroes, the guardians of their neighborhoods, proof that courage can indeed bloom amidst adversity. Yet the road to safety is long and the journey is far from over. As we discuss the safety situation in Mexico, it's crucial to remember that these are not just statistics, but the lives of real people, trying to carve out a semblance of normalcy in the face of adversity. Safety in Mexico, a privilege or a right? This question remains unanswered, a stark reminder of the challenges that lie ahead. As we continue our exploration, let us remember, safety in any part of the world should never be a privilege, but a fundamental human right. Are you a traveler or a target? A question that might feel unsettling, but it's a crucial one to ask if you're considering a trip to Mexico. The influence of the cartels has seeped into many aspects of life here, and it's important to be aware of the risks, particularly as a foreigner. The cartels have made a name for themselves through their ruthless and violent activities, and unfortunately foreigners are not immune to the fallout. In fact, they can be seen as easy targets due to their unfamiliarity with the local surroundings and customs. We have instances where foreigners, blissfully ignorant and merely seeking to enjoy the rich culture and stunning landscapes, have been caught in the crossfire. Take the case of the Australian surfers who were traveling through Sinaloa, a state known for its high cartel activity. They were presumed to have stumbled upon a drug deal and were subsequently murdered. Their van was found burnt out, a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk in the shadows. Then there was the tragic case of the French tourist who was kidnapped while on a guided tour in the Sierra Madre Mountains. The tour guide, a local, was released, but the Frenchman was held for ransom. Despite efforts by Mexican and French authorities, he was never returned to his family. These are but a few instances of the threats foreigners can face in cartel-dominated regions. Even in tourist hotspots like Cancun and Acapulco, the presence of cartels can be felt. Extortion, petty crime, and even open shootouts are not unheard of. The illusion of safety in these bustling tourist areas can quickly shatter, plunging unsuspecting visitors into a dangerous reality. So what does this mean for you, the foreigner? It means being alert, informed, and cautious. It means understanding the landscape, both physically and politically, before embarking on your journey. It means realizing that while Mexico offers a wealth of experiences, it also carries inherent risks. In the land of the cartels, a foreign face can be a marked target. Have the cartels been tamed, or are they stronger than ever? That's the question on everyone's mind. The current state of the cartels in Mexico is a complex and ever-evolving picture. Though there have been significant efforts by the Mexican government and international organizations to curb their influence, the cartels are far from being extinct. Their adaptability and resilience to change have allowed them to endure and even thrive in some regions. Recent years have seen a shift in the landscape of cartel activity. The traditional hierarchical structures of the past are giving way to smaller, more fragmented groups. These groups are often more violent and unpredictable, sparking a new wave of fear and uncertainty. In addition to drug trafficking, cartels have diversified their criminal enterprises. They've delved into human trafficking, kidnapping, extortion, and even oil theft. This diversification has allowed them to tap into new revenue streams and further entrench themselves in the local economies. Moreover, the cartels have proven themselves to be savvy manipulators of public opinion. They've used social media to spread propaganda, recruit new members, and even intimidate their enemies. This digital savvy has given them a new tool to maintain their power and influence. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are glimmers of hope. The rise of citizen self-defense groups and increased international cooperation in the fight against cartels have shown some promising results. While these efforts are still in their infancy, they represent a new front in the war against the cartels. Yet the question remains, are these changes enough to significantly weaken the cartels? Or have they simply adapted to the new challenges and threats they face? The truth is, it's too soon to tell. What we do know is that the cartels are not the monolithic entities they once were. They have evolved, adapted, and diversified. They are a complex, multifaceted problem that requires a comprehensive and nuanced response. The cartels today, a fading threat or a growing menace? It's a question with no easy answers. Only time will reveal the true state of the cartels in Mexico. What have we learned about the underworld lords of Mexico? From their chilling genesis to the current state of affairs, the Mexican cartels have woven an intricate tapestry of power, violence, and influence that stretches far beyond the borders of Mexico. Our journey began with the birth of the cartels, a period marked by the rise of powerful, ruthless organizations that would stop at nothing in their quest for dominance. Their reign of terror included horrific acts of violence such as human trafficking, kidnapping, and murder. The cartel's audacious activities eventually led to a full-blown war with the government. The battle lines were drawn, and the ensuing conflict had devastating effects on the country. The government's efforts to dismantle these organizations only fueled their resolve, escalating the violence and chaos. The cartel's influence extended to the drug trade, particularly in the United States. Their illicit activities have created a pervasive threat along the US-Mexico border, a region where the cartel's power is most palpable. Their relentless pursuit of wealth and control has turned this area into a dangerous frontier. We also delved into the safety situation in Mexico. Despite the government's efforts, the cartel's grip on the country remains strong, creating a climate of fear and uncertainty. Yet, Mexico's vibrant culture and resilient people continue to endure. The threat to foreigners was another important aspect we explored. Tourists and expatriates alike can find themselves unwitting victims of the cartels. Their reach is far and wide, and their actions often indiscriminate. Lastly, we discussed the current state of the cartels. Despite the challenges and crackdowns, they remain a formidable force, continuing to evolve and adapt. Their resilience is a testament to their deeply rooted presence in Mexico's social and political landscape. Understanding the Mexican cartels, one step closer to understanding the complex tapestry of Mexico's underworld. As we continue to unravel the intricate threads of this grim narrative, we gain a deeper appreciation of the challenges Mexico faces and the resilience it exhibits in the face of adversity.